Hey, what's up, Star Warriors? Star Wars Newsnet Live coming at ya. Very, very excited today. I'm back. Paul Herman's back. Got a great set of hosts here, as usual. Because that's how we do it. In Star Wars Newsnet Live, lots of great people to talk to and hang out with. All that jazz. So today I have got Mr. Tyler, who's been back with us. He's been carrying the torch. You've been doing the Lord's work for us. I just want you to know that. I'm being serious. So
there's nothing like hopping on at 11 p.m. to midnight. Every
goddamn right. Goddamn right, Tyler.
It's insane.
Nothing beats it.
But you forget it. That's right. You're young. You got a long. Before you have to, you pay your dues first, sir. Pay your dues first. No, I just Tyler is like, he's literally like this person. I just like, he's almost like a little brother. Where I just like everything. I'm like, no, Tyler, no. And we just have to butt heads, but I just love this kid to death. So it's crazy. But anyway, I digress. And Nate, I just actually met Nate officially just now, like 5 minutes ago.
Yep,
but
Nate,
you've been carrying the torch too.
Yeah.
We've been helping out. So
yeah, I'm in the chat whenever Paul's on, but but every once in a while in the weeks that he's not here, I pop on. But this is the 1 week where it worked out where we're both on at the same time. So
yeah,
let's go.
So let's crack open whatever soft drink you guys want to talk about, because I'm going to be doing
Always
my Diet Coke. Oh yeah,
and you know me, always Mountain Dew.
I gave up on. Of course, Tyler had to be the healthy one here. Yeah. You guys, yeah.
You old guys. I drink water, my protein shakes, and the occasional glass of
you need a drink protein. Look at those arms. Come on, man. Come on, man. You eat it. You skipped arm day or something, whatever they say about that. Eat some hamburgers. I got some protein for you. Eat some hamburgers from McDonald's. Go to Taco Bell. That's all you need to do. He's like, excuse me. I only
Chick-fil-A is the only fast food I eat.
Come on.
And that's only because my girlfriend, like, if we don't go to Chick-fil-A, I won't have a girlfriend anymore. And so we will go to Chick-fil-A. That is the only fast food that I'll eat. Unless you count like Chipotle fast food, because I'll get a little burrito bowl sometimes. I'll do that.
Oh my god, I had to get the bowl, the salad bowl.
Yes.
Just give me a big thing of guacamole. I actually probably eat the guacamole whole from there.
Yeah. Meanwhile, me about to go on a road trip because I'm here in Minnesota, and Taco Bell just introduced these chicken nuggets exclusively here. So I'm about to go on a road trip to try and find those things. So,
man, the naked chicken chalupa that used when I was in college, they had like the naked chicken chalupa box, and that was back in my heavy fast food era. And so I think when that was going on, I think I had average 2 chalupa boxes every 36 hours. I think it was insane.
Wow. We're gonna have to have a private conversation about your food habits here. I'm very you've intrigued me immensely here, Tyler. Which is
now I eat the same thing for lunch and dinner every single day, Monday through Friday. So it's very different now.
Like I said, we're gonna talk about your food habits here in a minute. I'm very curious. But not right now. Yeah, we're talking about Star Wars. So that's all I gotta say. So anyway, thank you for joining us, Star Wars Newsnet Live. Every week we try to give a great topic. I want you guys all watching either on the live chat, or if you're leaving a comment, we want you to please interact with us. We want to hear what you guys have to think. I always try to encourage, express your opinions. We may disagree a lot, like me and Tyler do, and argue all the time, especially when it comes to sports. But the cool thing is try to reunite our differences and try to come to some kind of conclusion of understanding the other side, right? And I think today is a great topic that Tyler actually picked out. Bravo, Tyler. Great job. But before we get into the topic, which you'll see is a little bit of a hint with the cover art, but we'll kind of do a little bit of a soft lead in with Matthew Vaughn. If you guys don't know who Matthew Vaughn is, he's a pretty somewhat known director. He's weird. He's a weird person because he kind of was a producer first and then turned into a director. And then directed Kick-Ass, The Kingsman. Basically is known for adapting Mark Millar comic book adaptations, essentially at this point. Anyway, Matthew Vaughn also directed X-Men First Class. It's a pretty solid movie. So he's done some stuff. and he's promoting his new movie, which I think is what it's
Argyle.
Argyle, and that's an original thing, right? So
the trailer, if you haven't seen the trailer for it, oh my god, I don't know what he's cooking, but it's something.
I don't know. I've seen the trailer. I'm not really. I'm like, whatever. It looks like a Kingsman like wannabe. Yeah, but
I love Kingsman, so give me all.
I've never seen it, so I have never.
You're
seen
missing out. You're missing out.
I probably am, but I digress. Anyway, so Matthew Vaughn, pretty prominent person. He suggested today, and I'm just paraphrasing here, but basically he talked about how he thinks Star Wars needs to reboot, and basically he needs to reboot the Star Wars needs to reboot the Star Wars line as a whole, but specifically the Skywalkers, because he thinks the Skywalkers are the heart of, or the only thing worth telling in Star Wars. Not those are my words, but essentially he says that he thinks Skywalkers are like the key to Star Wars, and that's why we need to reboot. Essentially,
the exact quote was that really bothered me, and that we'll talk about too. I think the one you're hinting at more was Star Wars is the Skywalker family, and that's where I think they've gone wrong. They forgot. They've done brilliantly in TV, but needs to be an epic new film. That's what I would do. Everyone is going to go batshit crazy, but let's bring it on. If you want a new generation, make the movie for them, yada, yada, yada. But the line was Star Wars is the Skywalker family. I think that was the line that really stuck out to me by saying that you can't have Star Wars without the Skywalkers, and you can't, kind of make anything. And he was like, let's go all in. Redo this. He had the whole why are they so hallowed that you from 1977 that you can't redo it. So I think those are the two big ones that kind of got everyone up in arms, or maybe the other way. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I'm gonna start this off because there's a lot to talk about here, and it's definitely a great we got a great segue for that when we go to our main topic, which kind of actually has a lot to say about the topic too. So I'll try to hold off a little bit, but I just want to say this: Matthew Vaughn, I respect a lot. I really do. I respect him a ton. Here's the thing with Matthew Vaughn, though. If you also listen to the same interview that he talks about, him and Mark Millar were going to do it. Mark Miller, excuse me. It's with an A, not an E. I always screw that up. But basically he talked about how him and Mark were going to do a reboot of Superman and Batman, which almost like they were pretty much the same idea. Like Krypton doesn't blow up. It survives, but blows up eventually. And then with Batman, it was his parents don't die as a kid, but they die when he's an adult. And it's just, all I'm going to say is this: Matthew Vaughn is, no. Like, he doesn't have all the greatest ideas. Those are terrible ideas, in my opinion. This is a terrible idea, in my opinion, for a lot of different reasons, which actually we'll go into, I think, with our main topic. But yeah, I think this is a terrible idea because here's the thing. The one thing about Star Wars that I think is really fascinating is that it's almost reboot proof. And the reason I say that is because no matter what, you can keep pushing the narratives forward for Star Wars. Whereas in like franchise storytelling, you're usually revolving around only certain characters, right? Like Marvel is trying to figure out the balance of not rebooting and also rebooting with legacy characters. And if you're a Marvel fan like me, for instance, I can remember I'm reading the comics forever. They were never the legacy character or legacy heroes franchise or universe. That was DC. You had multiple Green Lanterns, Flashes, et cetera. Marvel is now trying to, Ironheart with, Iron Man. You've got different Miles Morales. There's different characters who are younger, different versions that are, kind of reboots, if you will. Again, a lot more complex than that, but you get what I'm saying. And Star Wars isn't that. Star Wars is more. It's got such an infinite amount of stories to be told that you don't have to reboot characters. It's impossible. So I don't think that Matthew Vaughn really understands that, or he understands it, but doesn't. He just thinks the Skywalkers are the only thing, which again, I have a lot to say about that still too. But either way, it sucks that like he would say that because it definitely I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, I'll throw it to you, Tyler. You brought this whole thing up. What's you obviously have a little opinion about this.
So similar to what you said, Star Wars, the beautiful thing about Star Wars, and I'm curious, I think you'll both agree, is that it's not this, linear story that continues to have to be pushed forward. It's this giant anthology spanning thousands of years, in the past, but also in the future, which if you look at the current Star Wars film slate coming up, we have a movie that goes beyond the Skywalker saga in the new Jedi Order movie with Rey. And then we're going, way into the past to the dawn of the Jedi, which is 10,000 years before. And so it is not, predicated on one singular event or a singular group of people. It's this giant anthology with thousands of years to span, thousands of worlds. And I think an easy way to look, and we'll talk about this later, is, the High Republic publishing stuff that they have going on. You have a few characters that we are familiar with that pop in here or there in those books, comics, etc. But the story itself has absolutely nothing directly to do with the Skywalker saga. Now, there are things that are happening right now or things going on that make the saga feel even bigger and a little bit more tragic, but they're not directly tied to some of these characters. And so to say that Star Wars has to be, about the Skywalkers, to me is a misrepresentation of what Star Wars is and just kind of a misunderstanding of the stories that you're able to tell in this galaxy. But I'll let Nate kind of put the finishing touches on this.
Well, my finishing touches are going to be playing devil's advocate a little bit. First off, I agree with everything you guys just said, but I don't know. I think about it, and Matthew Vaughn comes from a very heavy comic background. He's done X-Men. Kingsman is a graphic novel, Kick-Ass, and all of these different things. So I think he's kind of looking at it from the lens of, I don't know, why can't Luke Skywalker be a Batman or a Green Lantern type of character where they have all these different iterations of someone who's in the suit or picking up the lightsaber or all these things. So I don't know. I disagree with his sentiment that Star Wars needs to be reset and all this kind of stuff. But I don't know. It's because he comes from the lens of that, and comics has reinvented the wheel so many times throughout the last century or whatever. So I think he's thinking, well, why can't Star Wars do the same? And you guys hit it on the head in that Star Wars has proven in its lifetime that it can be anything that you envision. I mean, you have the Old Republic stuff, you have Legends, you have canon, you have the High Republic, you have spin-off movies and books and all these and different characters that fans have gravitated to, like Thrawn, Mara Jade, Revan, everything in Star Wars. And it's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger throughout the 50 years. So no, Star Wars doesn't need to be rebooted because it is infinite. But when it comes to the hardcore, more the casual people in 20, 30 years, is that still going to be a thing? I mean, I mean, if it gets to a point where Star Wars is not top of the pulp culture atmosphere, or whatever you want to call it, what then? I mean,
I would say, Nate, that I agree with you in a lot of that, but the beauty of Star Wars is it can reinvent itself without the rebooting itself.
Yeah,
and
I
would argue that in the way that society is moving, that it's going to be really hard for anything to really be the top of the pop culture for a really long, sustained period of time. I think that just there's so much content out now. There's so many things going that I think it will take a genuinely, new movie that brings in new ideas, completely fresh, that might feel really risky to kind of do that. And like, for instance, I bring up my girlfriend and sometimes my students at school up in this show quite often, but I would say they're kind of a great examples. My girlfriend is, in her mid-20s, and she had never seen like the original Star Wars or the prequels, but she went to go see episode 7 and she's familiar with this new era. My students at school, a lot of them have not seen these kids. They have not seen the original Star Wars movies necessarily, or the even the prequels, but they all talk about, when I talk to them about the droid that's in Star Wars, they're like, oh, BB-8, like BB-8, or they talk about like, oh, I know Kylo Ren, like before I say name a villain in Star Wars. And Kylo Ren is oftentimes the first villain that's mentioned before even Darth Vader. Now they all know who Darth Vader is, they all know who those people are, but I think that as we continue to move forward, the beauty of Star Wars is that generational thing. And I don't think Star Wars is going to have a problem reinventing itself as long as they're willing to take those risks, because the longer we go in time, it's like 20 years from now, putting a Luke Skywalker into something, I don't think is going to mean the same as it would today. Not to say that Luke will ever lose its luster, but I think for people that are, 13 right now in 20 years, having these Luke Skywalker stories isn't going to necessarily be what drives them.
So I push back at that a little bit in that, so we don't necessarily want, and I agree wholeheartedly in that I don't necessarily think another Luke Skywalker would resonate the same way. But then why are we okay with so many on-screen Spider-Mans and so many on-screen Supermans and so many on-screen all these other comic book characters? We're okay with all that, but then, so I think that's where Matthew Vaughn's coming from, is that so all these other properties can reinvent themselves in that way. So why can't Star Wars? And I don't agree with him, but at the same time, how he's looking at it from that perspective, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is a great way to segue, because again, Matthew Vaughn gave us a gift for our topic today, and our topic is going to be, Tyler, why don't you explain the topic a little bit, and I'll carry it from there.
And so a couple of days ago, I really been thinking, and we've talked briefly about this on past live shows, but I thought, why not just have a full-blown discussion? Does Star Wars need to move beyond the Skywalker saga for future storytelling, or is continuing to dive into this, I guess 60-year-ish time period, the bread and butter, and that's kind of where they need to stay. So today we're going to talk about, the pros and cons of pushing beyond the saga. Is that what they should do, shouldn't do? And the Matthew Vaughn comments really tied directly in, which came at a perfect time for us to segue into this discussion. So yeah, absolutely. And then, Paul, I really want to hear your thoughts on the comic book stuff that Nate brought up, because I think it is a really good discussion. And I would say you're the comic guy. So, as is evident.
Plus, I have a lot. Evident. And if you guys, I have the Comic Binge YouTube channel. Go subscribe. All that stuff. So there's a lot to unpack here. For those who may not know me very well, and there's many, a lot of people who don't know who I am. So that's fine. The thing about me, if you know from my Star Wars background, if from listening to my on the Blaster Cannon podcast, or the Saga Continues, I am a big Skywalker proponent. I love the Skywalker family. And when the Force Awakens was launched, I was adamant that Rey had to be related to a Skywalker in some way, because I felt that the trilogy was about those. It's not the Star Wars saga. It was always the Skywalker saga. I've always said that. And I was devastated when Rian Johnson was like, nope, she's nobody. I was like, oh, what the hell, dude? Like, you've totally ruined what I love about the whole idea of the Skywalker family, the whole Skywalker idea of George Lucas. Now, I'm not saying George is like, nah, whatever. He hated The Last Jedi, because I don't think he did. But I do think Rian Johnson took that whole idea about being about a family and try to subvert it and whatever. Again, I don't want to get into The Last Jedi I hate, but that's where I come from. Is I hated Last Jedi for a lot of reasons. At some points, I don't hate it as much anymore. So just like lots of it. But when it first came out, I had a huge problem with Rey not being a Skywalker. So when you get Rise of Skywalker, it made me think, well, what are they doing differently? And I don't want to get a huge discussion about that. I love the movie more than most people. But the thing about it was, I did think they tried to retcon / kind of retrack a little bit, and remember that Star Wars is special, and the Skywalkers are a big name. They are a very well-known, marketable name, one. And two, that's where I think that we've kind of lost sight of the fact that the trilogy is an interesting idea of a family over generations. And when we make the characters not be a part of the Skywalker family by blood, I will holding it. I'm getting to that in a second. They try to retroactively do that, pull that back a little bit with the whole Rey thing. Now, your mileage is going to vary. You're always going to agree with me, but I'm going to tell you right now, I think the Rey Skywalker thing, maybe it was a mess to get there. I still love that mess, by the way. There's a reason that poster's back there. I love that movie to death. It was a mess to get there, but they're actually at a part in my point. They're at a point right now that they have a chance to really make that Skywalker name more than just a family. And I think that's where we're at right now. And that's where I would say that Tyler's discussions is brilliant, because I think it's both. I hate to be like it's just down the middle, but I am Baby Bear. I'm just right. It has to be just right. It can't just be one or the other. To me, it has to figure out that balance. And I feel that we're close. I'm praying to the force God above that this Rey movie somehow takes the Rey Skywalker moniker and tries to kind of shift it a little differently to where now we can maybe do something else with it, but still have it be the prominent thing we follow in these films going forward, because it's a special name, right? It's a household name. Everyone knows where Skywalker comes from. Everyone. And I think you shouldn't lose sight of that. I have ideas where we could go from there, which I'll save, but I do think that the Skywalker name in some shape or form should be followed in Star Wars because of its legacy and that its importance. I think not just in the meta, like outside world of where we know, but in the galaxy from afar, far away that itself, like it's a big, big name. And I do feel that there's a great opportunity that they have that Rise of Skywalker gave them. I don't know if they're going to take it. Again, this is my opinion, but I do feel that it's worth it and it's still there and they need to take it. I think it's important to take it. I think from a marketing standpoint and I think from a storyline standpoint, but that's me. Kyle, what's your early take on this?
You mean Nate?
Look, Nate.
Who's Kyle?
Kyle's my old other podcaster. I'm sorry. I podcast a lot. I got Nate. I apologize. I'm so sorry. If Kyle's watching this, Kyle's gonna laugh his ass off. Anyway, Nate, I apologize.
That was good.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Good, yeah. I wasn't sure what was going
on. You're like, wait a minute, who is this guy? And then also this other guy. I'm Kyle.
Well, we have a person that writes for the site.
Sure, I'm sorry.
Used to write for the site. It was like, wait a minute here. What's going on?
Freudian slip, you could say. Nate, go ahead.
I have very complex feelings on this matter because I love when Star Wars goes outside of the box. Like Tyler, I am also a massive, massive High Republic guy. And I love when Star Wars gets away from what we know and does something so different. And I think the franchise needs that, which is why I'm so excited for the 3 movies that were announced. But let's be real. All 3 of those movies, between the Dawn of the Jedi movie, the Dave Filoni movie, and the Rey movie, they're all massive, massive risks in their and each their own ways. And it shows that Lucasfilm is willing to move past the Skywalkers a little bit, at least what we know, and try to do something different. So we are getting it, but if they don't work, like, I don't know, like, Star Wars is trying, but at the end of the day, most people still think of Star Wars as the Skywalker story, whether you like it or not. And I don't think we'll ever get to a point where we get away from that. And obviously the hardcores who get into everything know that Star Wars is a lot more, but Joe Blow down the street isn't going to know more than your main cast that mostly includes the Skywalkers and Han Solo and Vader and all those guys. But I don't know, like, yes, we need to move past the Skywalkers, but it's such an integral part, which is why I agree with Paul in that I don't know, it always has to be a part of it, whether you like it or not.
Great point.
Okay, so I have a few thoughts. First, I'll touch on both of what you said because I thought you both had really good things to say. So,
Thank
Paul brought up. No, I won't say that again probably for the rest of the time.
Probably not.
Take it while you get it.
Oh boy.
I'm just kidding.
I know.
So Paul, he brings up an interesting point because we disagree a lot on The Last Jedi, but I will say that the moniker you're talking about of Rey being a Skywalker, I think her being a nobody in The Last Jedi really makes her choosing the Skywalker name to be even more like impactful for her going forward, because she goes from I hated Rey Palpatine, but trying to look forward, I think having her go from a nobody to suddenly I'm the granddaughter of the most evil person of all time, to choosing the light and choosing to be the Skywalker allows the name to continue. We can create this larger mythos around the family name moving forward to where we're not having to tell all of these stories related to Luke. We just have the Skywalker has become something larger than life. So moving forward, I think that it can serve a great purpose. The execution of it will be interesting. I think the best way to do this is not having like Skywalker cameos in this new Rey movie. Don't agree. Nothing like that. We can have, the subtle mentions, the things like that, but continue to push forward. Rey is your main character. Hopefully John Boyega comes back and everything. And we can push forward with some new characters. Here's where I disagree that Star Wars has to be intrinsically tied to the Skywalker name. Now, Star Wars has taken on a larger than life place in pop culture forever. It has. And Star Wars started with a massive risk, which was the very first movie. Yeah. In order for Star Wars to really grow beyond the Skywalker saga, I think what they have to do is something along the lines of this Dawn of the Jedi movie. And they do have to pour resources and money and people into a risk. And I think of all three of those movies, you could argue that the Mangold movie is the biggest risk, because I think the Rey movie is probably the one they need to do the best. But, Daisy Ridley alone and the Skywalker name will probably get butts in the seats for the most part. Yeah, but I think having this movie is the biggest risk. But I think where that biggest risk is also lies in your greatest reward, because I think there are people that are burnt out on Star Wars and they don't want to have to watch all of these things. But if you can put a trailer out there that says, before everything that you even know, like we're starting, this is something fresh. This is something new.
Before midichlorians.
And even longer time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
And I think for a lot of people, it might be a slow get to that hype level. But I think for a lot of people, that could be something really fresh and exciting, where they don't have to nudge the person next to them and say, was I supposed to catch that reference? Do I know who this character is? Like I'm watching Rings of Power right now with my girlfriend, and she's every once in a while she's like, who is should I know who that person is? And I'm like, well, that person is this. And I think with Ahsoka we got a lot of that, like, should I know who this person is? Should I know who that person is? But if we go back to the Dawn of the Jedi, everyone's going in on an equal footing, everyone's going in on the same playing field, and it allows for a true just open ballpark of ideas and things to flow. And I really hope that they take advantage of that opportunity and this doesn't become another project that gets broken up due to creative differences down the line. That's I really hope. And that's why I love these stories, because the more stories we have, even before the Skywalker saga, and it connects to it, and we see the beauty of Star Wars, the larger the Skywalker saga narrative becomes, because it becomes even more tragic when we see the things that take place before to build up the Republic, to build up the Jedi. And we know they're going to fall, but the stories that we're telling don't tie into that. So I really hope we push back. I don't think it needs to be intrinsic to Star Wars to have everything connect, though.
Okay, now there's a difference between connecting and having it still part of the overall saga. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to always go, when we all started in the Force back in the Dawn of the Jedi times, there was a Skywalker, but no one knew about it. Like you don't have to do that. Like it's what I think I almost called you Kyle again, Nate. So I just want to make sure I'm calling myself out. I'm calling myself out. Nate, I'm so sorry. No, but Nate, I think you would agree that it's not about tying in. It's about progressing the story forward with Skywalkers at some point. That's what I think is important for. Not saying they only go forward with Skywalkers. God. I mean, what's that?
Holy super chat, Batman.
What happened?
We have a super chat from Diamond Figs for $10. Holy cow.
Awesome. That's awesome.
She says, I think I'd be more excited for Rey's film if Ben Solo was coming back. In my opinion, he's the best example of a character that's both intertwined and removed from the Skywalker line. Super intriguing. If they could convince Adam Driver to return and they could figure out a way to make that happen, which it would not be hard to do that. And it would be the best thing for Star Wars because Adam Driver is amazing. Him and Daisy had such limited time to be on screen together. And when they were, it was always incredible.
Really good.
Like the chemistry they had was fantastic. And I was so frustrated that they killed off his character because it just leaves up just so much room for cuts out so much that we could have. So I 100% agree. If they could bring Ben Solo back in some form or fashion, that would really open the floodgates, I think, for excitement for people. But what do you guys think?
Well, really quick, Diamond Figs, thank you so much. Like that is such a seriously, we don't even ask for this, and you did it. Like that is really seriously, that's super
I forget
awesome.
It's a feature that we have on our
channel. Well, and I don't think we're there yet. I would say we're asking for it. If people want to, then I'm not going to stop them, obviously. No. And I want to say thank you. It's very generous. And it for us doing this, we are taking times out of our lives. I mean, Tyler, for God's sakes, is up at 4 a.m. in the morning right now before I have to go to work. Right. I mean,
in 3 hours,
3 hours, basically. But, and then for me, I'm, away from my family and Nate, I'm sure you same for you. And I just want to say that stuff like that goes a long way. And Diamond Figs, thank you. Honestly, not saying people have to do it, but when you do, it really does mean a lot to us. It helps support because it's just as time is money, money is time. And we are not paid for this. We do it because we love it. And it helps. This little bit helps us, support ourselves and, buying a coffee during the week is always helpful. Those kinds of things. So again, thank you very much, Diamond Figs. But
go ahead.
I want to say that because this kind of ties into my whole thing about the Skywalkers and Ben Solo. I think there's really coolness that, again, say what you want about the movie. I love Rise of Skywalker. Oh my gosh, we're getting crazy here. Diamond Figs will be right. Diamond Figs is out of control today, y'all. I'll say my piece and then I'll throw it back up and then Nate, you can take it from there. Yep. I just want to say really quick that I do think that Rise of Skywalker did manage to salvage the Skywalker name a little bit in a lot of different ways. And I think Ben Solo's redemption, even though I agree, I wish he would have survived because I love Adam Driver and I love Kylo Ren / Ben Solo. I actually love the Ben Solo. I love his performance. It didn't say much, but there was a point to that. And I love that. And I think that it's a bummer. There's ways maybe you can get around it. I don't know. I'd be open to it, but I'm not going to put my hopes up. Had to be a great story. Okay, we'll save it for a different show. But let me just say that I do think the fact you've redeemed Ben, you have now a chance to have a tie-in with the Skywalker family through Rey, because Rey has a connection with everyone, with Leia and Luke and Ben. And that's a cool thing about it is that now she literally has connection, and you can say what you want about the whole Leia thing and how everyone didn't, which I think is crazy. People didn't like the Leia thing in Rise of Skywalker. It's I thought they did a beautiful job with what they had. And the fact they somehow made her train Rey in how her tie with, it's just brilliant, I think. And I really, in a way that now she can commune with these characters down the line, and it does make sense. Whether or not you like it does make sense story-wise. I'm terrible at reading things out loud. Tyler, will you read Diamond Fig's second super chat? Yeah. Oh my God.
That being said, this has been a great chat. Appreciate the Discord. Star Wars creators have to support Star Wars creators.
Plug your stuff in the comments,
Plug your stuff.
so people can find you.
Yeah.
Plug your stuff.
Please.
You don't have to give them a super chat, but plug your stuff.
We appreciate it. No, but thank you. Seriously, Diamond Fix, thank you. Any super chats, any guys hitting the like button, commenting, interacting on the live chat, like that's what we care about. And live chats are like the icing on the cake or the ice cream, what cake, what I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But
the ice cream on the cake, that is intense dessert, my friend.
That is intense. All right, Tyler, what's your take? Like, what Ben Solo? I know doesn't need Ben Solo in this movie, like this Rey movie in some way.
I mean, it doesn't need Ben Solo, but Ben Solo would just be incredible. I've never seen in Star Wars or in a lot. It's very rare to have an actor say one word as a character and still be incredibly impactful and steal the show. And it's Al.
Yeah, it's Al.
And Ben Solo is my favorite part of The Rise of Skywalker. As soon as he has the connection with Han there and he throws the lightsaber away, all of that moving forward, all the Ben Solo stuff is my favorite. So it doesn't need Ben Solo. I would love for them to figure out a way to do that. I think it just comes down to the fact that Adam Driver's probably done with Star Wars and doesn't want to come back in. He seems perfectly happy doing all of his other stuff because I mean he's awesome. He's incredible as an actor. So I think finding a way forward without him is the best bet. I don't think it's one of those things where we're ever going to be blessed to have him back. Never say never, but Nate, what do you think? Because I would love it, but
I mean, obviously I'd love it too. I love Ben Solo. I love Kylo Ren. I love his arc throughout the sequel trilogy. It's one of the best parts of the entire trilogy. I love a lot of the sequel trilogy. I'm that kind of weirdo, but.
No, weird, man. You got your opinion. I get you. No, seriously though. I think it's all good. I legitimately love like Rise of Skywalker. People like dog on me and try to.
I have my very big problems with various elements of the sequel trilogy, but
no, same here. I still love a lot of it.
As a whole, it's the same thing with the prequels. The ideas of the sequels really resonate with me and what they were trying to do, even if it didn't come across on screen in the correct ways. Kind of like the Rey Skywalker whole ordeal. And I think one thing you can do in this new Rey movie is play with that. And
great point.
And how does Rey feel now that we're 10 years down the road from that? Is she okay having that name? Is she wrestling with that name? And the power of the Skywalker name, what does that mean to her now that she is
put a pin in that?
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, it's very interesting what they could do with that. And and is Ben Solo part of that? Probably. In my opinion, yes. I think you do have to bring him back. Shovel a dump truck full of millions of dollars to Adam Driver to get him to come back. I don't know how much you do. Inflate the budget for this movie. Bankrupts Lucasfilm because it's not going to make its money back if you do that. But yeah, I don't know. I think you do have to bring him back. And also circling back one last time to the James Mangold stuff. I have to reiterate, I love when Star Wars gets away from the Skywalkers. I love it. I really do. I really do. High Republic, Old Republic, all this stuff. And I want Dawn of the Jedi. And I've said in the show in the past that Dawn of the Jedi is probably my most anticipated Star Wars project because of the possibilities it presents to be something brand spanking new for everybody, for kids, for adults who have been hardcore for all their lives. They can share a brand new 1977 experience with everybody. And that's really cool if they can stick the landing. And I hope they do. So yes, Star Wars needs to get away from the Skywalkers to do that. But Star Wars needs the Skywalkers to
exactly. Thank you.
I don't know. The Skywalkers have to stay in some way, form, or fashion. I don't know what it looks like, but you have to treat them right. And the Rey movie is the next thing in that. So they gotta treat its only living Skywalker right in Rey Skywalker. And what does that name mean to Rey at this point in her life? That I think has to be the crux of her arc in the movie. Even though I don't want the movie to be about Rey, I don't think it will necessarily be a Rey movie, I think we'll meet a whole new cast of characters that will carry the torch. But yeah,
do you really think that? I disagree a little bit. I really do. Like I really do. Like, don't you think if you mentioned this 1977 experience that we're wanting to give everyone again? So if we're able to try to do something brand new for everyone, and it does hit like we hope, wouldn't we gravitate and connect to these brand new characters?
Why can't we have it all?
Brand new lines and push forward with that to where we don't need to be completely reliant on one name. If you have something that truly does captivate and connect with everyone, again, like, do we really have to go back? I don't know.
Okay, I got there's a lot to unpack here, and we want to try to keep it around an hour. So I got a couple of things. Oh my gosh, I think I just lost my AirPods here. Sorry, everybody. Let me just read it right here. I'll sound like kind of weird for a second. The thing I really want to talk about here is the fact that Star Wars doesn't need the Skywalkers, right? Like I think that's Mandalorian has shown us that, right? And that's fine. Like I want to make that very clear. But I think having Star Wars in the Skywalkers makes sense. And here's the thing. With Rey Skywalker, there's a couple of things that you said here, Nate, that I thought you were on the money. One, I don't know if Rey is going to be the main character in this movie. I think she's going to be a part of this movie. Is she going to be about Rey? It's going to be about Rey. I don't know. And here's the thing. I almost want that because I would love for her to have her own trilogy, or the next trilogy we have of a main story is about her and whatever that new Skywalker thing is. And that to me is the key, because I think there's a way now to have that Skywalker name be so important, to be where it's reverent name now. And what does that mean? How do you pass that on? And I think that's where we're headed now. And I think that there's something special with that. You can make the Skywalker name special. And I think that they have this opportunity. And I think that like us following this family, this thing going forward is important. And like the 1977 experience is not something that you have to have for, just an entry point. That's the thing that people forget. Sometimes people latch on to sequels. Like sequels are bigger than the first movie sometimes, right? Like it's like Dark Knight's a great example of that, because it was a great story. Batman Begins is great. I love it. But The Dark Knight was the movie that resonated with people for many different reasons. You get what I'm saying though, right? Like people's experiences, the zeitgeist of people, you can't predict. And that's the thing. Like people might latch, for all we know, this Rey movie comes out, it blows everyone's minds. Just not saying it will, but
it's united again.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, like Rey's like the biggest character in Star Wars. We have no idea what story is going to resonate with the general audience, and that's the thing, though. But at your point, though, what is about 1977 that is so magical? I think it's the fact that it's very simplistic. I think that's the problem with I think most storytelling in movies in general is that everyone wants to be complex. That's what Lucas fought against. And back in the 70s, everything was dark and gritty and blah 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 blah.
That's why the Mandalorian took off like it did, because it was so simple.
It's gotten more complex.
It has,
and it was simple and cute.
Almost too complex at this point. To your point,
and I'm not going to sit here and say I don't love complexity, because I love me some complex. But I think that's the thing about is a resonating story. And that's what's going to get butts and seats. I do think that with Rey as a Skywalker, you have salvaged the name. And I think that there's a reason. And in my opinion, I think you have to make it not just a last name. I really do. In my opinion, this is my own conjecture here. I do feel that you have to make it some kind of title. I think it has to be.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can make it just like, oh, I'm going to have, children and this will be, that'd be fine if they did that. But I do think that the Skywalker name is a big enough name and a big enough legacy that it should mean something more than just a family name. because it is an idea. Because to me, the Skywalker name is not just a family. To me, Skywalker means redemption. That there again, even a movie that I don't love as much, which is The Last Jedi. There's redemption. There's you can fail and get back up and salvage what you have, and there's unity. There's there's strength and love and belief in what you do, and there's value there that the Jedi, that even Obi-Wan and freaking Yoda were Jedi, and they couldn't see past that. Luke did through his love of his father, but not his nephew apparently. But anyway, I had to throw it in there just for you, Tyler, and all you Last Jedi people. But the thing, in all seriousness,
I will fight you on that.
We will fight. There will be fights on this, I promise. The thing is, I think with that, the Skywalker could be kind of like an overseer. And I'm not saying I'm like my idea is gold, but I'm just saying something like that for the Force. Almost separate from the Jedi, something like that, where it keeps people in line. Because when I think of balance, think of look at Ahsoka, for God's sakes. Look where Anakin is. I know you disagree, Tyler, but if Anakin could really be like Filoni could be setting up Anakin to be the balance of the Force, like he's almost in keeping that balance there. Which, say, as a father, I'm not saying it's going to be 1-for-1, but I'm just saying that like there could be something to that whole idea of the Skywalker name being a balance of some kind, or some kind of moniker and title within the Jedi or outside the Jedi, that you can make that legacy go on in other films and not have to worry about keeping it like, I hate to say this, but who's Rey adopting, or who's she with, or who, you can make it be about anything at that point.
I love what you said.
Have the opportunity. Go ahead.
I would love for Skywalker to represent, in essence, 10 years in the future, like the name Skywalker, the term Skywalker it represents the light in the galaxy. Like it represents, and there is going to be, hopefully, I think, some force that comes in and tries to diminish that light, and not only tries to tarnish Rey's character and the galaxy at large, but perhaps the name of Skywalker itself. And that way you still have your Skywalker, stuff going on, but you can still move past it. I agree that it is important moving forward that the name Skywalker still means something as well. I don't think that Lucasfilm should be less concerned with making sure Skywalker is still like a prominent part of their storytelling, and they should be more concerned with how are we going to like move forward in a unique way that doesn't retread what we've done. And I just get worried sometimes when people do this whole Rey Skywalker thing, that they get so hung up on the fact that she chose her last name Skywalker that they lose track of like the vision behind it. And I'm wondering, could it end up being more of a distraction in the future for some people than we would like to see?
Nate, I'll give you back to you in 1 second. I just want to comment on this. I don't think it'd be a distraction, because I think that all you have to do is establish, because one thing I think Dave Filoni has beautifully done, and I think that, and this is to both JJ and Rian Johnson's criticism of and how Kathleen Kennedy let them kind of, approve this, is that Dave Filoni established is right away a strength of Star Wars is that you don't have to tell everything on screen or over explain everything, because look at Ahsoka and Sabine. Like, I'm like, what the hell? Like, why is Ahsoka? Where did this happen? And over time, I've accepted it, and now I can't wait to get that backstory. I think that all you have to do is establish, at some point what Rey has done with the name and what she, or maybe the movie could be about her doing that. Like, I love that too. I don't think you need to do that. A good story is a good story. And I think that's the thing, Tyler. And I think that you would agree and Nate would agree that if a story sucks, it's going to be, whether it be about a Skywalker or not, it doesn't matter, right? A story's going to suck. There's ways to make a movie about maybe her, that whole idea that Casey or Corey, I'm not sure. My eyes are so bad, people. I can't say this here. She talked about, sorry, let me bring this back up. Talking about a new, like, a new kind of Jedi or whatever, right? Like, that's the thing. You could do that on screen, or you could just kind of do it off screen in the title and say, like, Rey is now the Jedi Knights are now are come out, and Rey is now seeking out, or the new title of Skywalker, and just put in the crawl, for God's sakes. It's not hard. I think people could accept that. I don't think it will be a distraction as long as you don't make it like a big deal and have to keep referencing it, because I think, to me, you're almost strutting and being confident in the decision you make by not making it a big deal and just accepting it, and just passing moments of like, hey, like it's that, like, for instance, General Skywalker, what we wait your Master Skywalker, we wait your command. Like that, something simple as that. Like, you're not a character can reference her as Master Skywalker. Doesn't have to be, hey, Rey Skywalker, what are you doing here? Like, you don't have to do that. Just like, 20 minutes of the movie, it says Master Skywalker, what do we do next, or whatever. Absolutely. Right? And then all of a sudden,
I'm pro Rey Skywalker. Like, I'm pro Rey Skywalker.
I know you are. I know.
Okay.
But I'm saying, as long as you do it like that naturally, it's not going to be a distraction, in my opinion. So I think that, to me, Lord knows Lucasfilm is not listening to me at all, and will probably thinks I'm crazy.
They should not listen to us.
I don't know why they should, but no. I'm just gonna say I really, 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 really pray. That's my one thing I've been begging for a while. And with the name Rise of Skywalker, I really thought it was gonna happen, but there's still room for it. I think it has to be a title. I just think it's tailor made. JJ has actually done us a gift because now you have a jumping off point from the trilogy. If you don't want to do trilogies anymore, which I hope they still do, with that name Rise of Skywalker, you have the ability to take that name back and use it for something really interesting and cool. And Rey Skywalker is cool. I make that very clear. I love freaking Rey Skywalker. I walked out of Rey Skywalker with the biggest smile on my face, as a parent who's adopted, and like the fact that she like accepts this different name is just really empowering to me as a father who's adopted, and so not everyone's going to feel that way. That's fine. But I came out of that movie on cloud 9. I love the movie to death, flaws and all. And I do think, the last thing I'll throw it to Nate and you guys and Tyler, and we'll head out. I just want to say, I do think the Skywalkers are important. They are not, I think the be all end all, but I do think progressing the name of Skywalkers as we progress down the story, the timeline going forward is important. I think, to me, is still important to produce, but give it a title. Don't make it a family anymore. You have the opportunity with Rise of Skywalker to do that. Nate, throw it to you, and then Tyler, and then we'll get out.
Well, first off, you stole my point.
I'm sorry.
In that a good story is a good story. Good storytelling is good storytelling. It can be about anything, but if it's told well, the general audience will accept it. At the end of the day, there will always be someone who poo-poos on it. I hear often that every single thing is someone in the world's favorite thing, and that very same thing is also someone's least favorite thing in the world. And so it's all going to be subjective, but at the end of the day, if it's a good story, people will show up, people will gravitate towards it, people will recommend it, watch it again, read it again, anything. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. If it's tied to Star Wars, tied to Skywalkers, tied to anything else, it doesn't matter. We just need good stories in Star Wars. I think that at the end of the day, I think that is what's most important going forward. And I hope they can manage that with some of these big risky projects, because if they're good, I think we'll all be happy.
Yeah.
Obviously, Disney and the higher powers that be would love each of them to make $1.5 billion. I think that'd be awesome, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. To your points, Paul, about the Skywalker name, I don't necessarily know what I want the Skywalker name to become. I don't know if I think that could become a new name for the Jedi. I actually like the idea of, as the Skywalker line, probably, we don't know what Rey's lineage is going to be going forward, but say she is the last Skywalker now, and the Skywalker name becomes myth, future generations of Jedi could look to that name and aspire to be that, and that could be the source of a lot of cool storytelling for future generations of people who want to aspire to be the next Luke Skywalker, but fail in some way and fall to the dark side or whatever. You can do a lot of interesting things with the Skywalker name with people who have no ties at all to the Skywalkers.
Agreed.
So,
well, and I just want to really throw it to you, Tyler. I want to say I don't think it should be replace the Jedi name because for a couple of different reasons. One, if the Jedi name wasn't a household name, then I think that there's a possibility. If I'm putting my comic book hat on, like my Marvel DC hat on, as like I'm like, if this was like not as big of a property, I think that would be on the table. Because it's Star Wars and it's Jedi. There's no way in hell that's ever going to happen. I do think there's room for maybe a Skywalker name of title of something within the Jedi Order, the new Jedi Order, if you will. Again, that's just what I think. I'm not sure what that is. I don't know. I haven't thought that hard about it, but I think balance, or even almost like not a judge, but something like that, where it's like, because that's the thing about Luke I love so much in Return of the Jedi is that he sought past the legalism and embraced the outside and the unthinkable. And that's what I think the Skywalkers kind of represent, in my opinion. I've already gone on about that. So Tyler, take us home and we'll get out.
Okay, this might piss off a few people. I don't know.
See you later.
I wish it were this simple. And you guys have both said this. Like, a good story is a good story, and people are gonna go see it and generally be okay with that. I really wish it were that simple, because what a good story is can be so different for some people. I mean, you look at, I think Nate and I, who love the story that is The Last Jedi. And it might be after Empire. It's probably my second favorite individual story told in a movie. And then you have people like Paul who
don't go that high, but I'm a Last Jedi.
Don't go there. But that's me. I'm a Last Jedi guy. And you have people that think it is the worst Star Wars movie ever. And we saw the repercussions of that. Lucasfilm, I think, made a lot of changes to, what's going to happen in Star Wars after that. We saw repercussions it had on Solo, because Solo came out just a few months after the discourse of The Last Jedi. And I think Solo suffered for a number of reasons. And one of it was because of The Last Jedi. And
I agree with that.
I think that just simply being like, oh, a good story is a good story, people are going to go see it. There is a fear in me with this Rey movie, and this goes beyond just the Skywalker saga, because I think there is a section of the fandom that will be so toxic towards the idea of Rey Skywalker and this new movie and this is kind of more of an online toxicity thing, that their mission and these people will have their minds made up of what this movie is going to be and how it's going to be received before they even sit down in the theater. And part of me, and why I want to move beyond Skywalker a little bit, is because I think having just a breath of fresh air for a movie is almost needed, because the lingering toxicity in the air from the sequel trilogy, I'm worried could derail anything that comes from a Daisy Ridley starred Rey movie this soon after it. Like, I love Daisy Ridley, and I hope this movie is amazing, and I'm going to go see it the first night. I just felt like it might have been a little too soon given everything that took place. I think it needed to breathe a little bit. And so that's kind of my overarching concern with the story. Could be perfect. It could be flawless. But I think there's going to be a large number of people that might have their minds made up before they even are willing to go see it. And we could see the ripple effects come through that affect future Star Wars, similarly to how The Last Jedi had ripple effects that we're still probably feeling some of the reverb from.
Well, and I just want to add really quick. Gosh, this is such a great conversation. You guys are all bringing your A game, man. I love it. This is great, because these are good conversations. These are conversations as Star Wars fans and as hardcore Star Wars fans we need to have, because these characters mean a lot to us. This franchise means a lot. It means a lot to us, and you touched on something here that, yes, not everyone's going to love the same thing. And that's the hard part, right? Like, that's the thing that The Last Jedi proves, that you could go a different route, and then there has to be a strategy to it. And I don't want to get too heavy involved in that, but I will say that you bring up a great point in that people aren't always going to gravitate towards the same great story. And I get that, but it's possible. I'm going to give you an example here. This is a kind of a weird example, but bear with me and we'll get out of here. No Way Home is a Spider-Man movie that is hugely successful. It was following up a pretty moderate hit of Far From Home. And listen, I love Spider-Man's my favorite all-time fictional character. He is. I know a lot about Spider-Man. Whatever. I could tell you that fandom, again, this is not like a small section of fandom, but it's still a somewhat sizable amount of fandom did not like the interpretation of MCU Spider-Man because of what, there's no Uncle Ben, there's Tony Stark's involved in this, there's no real, where's my Spider-Man, blah, 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 blah. We're 2 movies in and no one likes this, blah, 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 or all these fans, or, not all these fans, but a lot of hardcore Spider-Man fans don't like the MCU Spider-Man. It's blah this and blah that. What does No Way Home do? No Way Home, yes, uses these characters like from the other movies, but that's not what they all loved. I can tell you as a Spider-Man fan, a lot of people disliked MCU Spider-Man until No Way Home because of what happened with Tom Holland's character and how they used Aunt May and how they brought that all full circle with the whole great power comes great responsibility. The whole 3 movies comes to a head with that line by Aunt May, not Uncle Ben. She says it, and I would say majority of Spider-Man fans love that movie because at the end of the movie, he's Spider-Man. He's where you want it to be. And I say all that because I do think that you're right. Like, you might want to separate I think the natural tendency as a corporate businessman to be like, no, we got to get away from Ray Skywalker. We got to get away from this. That I understand that aspect of it. But if you write the right story, even something like this, like, again, it's a smaller sample, but Spider-Man MCU was a controversial take for a lot of hardcore Spider-Man fans. No Way Home brought it all back. I never would have ever thought they would do that, and how they made all of it make sense. They brought Spider-Man back to where the simple essence of what made him tick. I think there's a possibility, or not even a possibility, a strong possibility that they could do that with Ray very easily with this movie or whatever they want to do. I do think it's possible. Is it a risk? Of course, anything's a risk, but I do think that No Way Home, and there's examples out there that you can salvage this stuff with the right writers and and it's the key, the right vision. And that's where we need to have it, basically at. And I do think it's salvageable. I do think it's worth, and let's be real, Disney needs to salvage it because they're hurting, and they put a lot of money in that sequel trilogy. And Ray, to your credit, Tyler, you've said it before, Ray's going to get people's in seats. Like, she's still a popular character. As much as some people want to crap on, I don't want to give him time of day. Ray's a popular character. She's very, very, very well known, and she's liked. She's not hated. She's liked. She's not loved like Luke Skywalker, sure, but she's liked as much as Anakin, more than Anakin Skywalker was in the prequel trilogy, in my opinion. So she's definitely worth using what you've invested into this character and using that. Now they have to, hopefully they have the right story to keep pushing her forward if that's where they decide to go. Because I'm still not convinced this Ray movie is going to happen this movie will be only about Ray. I think she'll be a supporting character or an important character. I'm not sure it's going to be her movie yet. If I'm wrong, that's fine. But anyway, I don't want to be too much longer. Any quick thoughts from you guys?
I will just add, jumping off that, all it takes is one win. One.
I agree with that. Well said.
One great win. Movie
with Ray
will shut up a lot of people. It won't shut up everybody because that's just not possible. It's not possible. But all it will take is one great movie that rocks everyone's socks off, rakes in all the dollars, and everyone is right back on board. That's why there's a lot of people looking forward to Ahsoka, and why people are so excited about Ahsoka is that for a lot of people, it was that one win that got a lot of people on board with its new ideas and fresh ideas. So if Star Wars could keep just getting all these little wins and then come out with a bomb with the next movie, I think Star Wars will get back on track. Skywalkers or not. So, but I guess we'll see.
Tyler, take us home. I promise I'll shut up.
No, man, it's like I appreciate everyone listening tonight. We had an active chat tonight. It was beautiful. I appreciate everyone's thoughts on this. We will see you all next Thursday, I believe.
Yes, I won't be here, but
Thursday. Yes,
I'll be gone next Thursday. But
I'll be here next Thursday. I'll leave you guys with this last little note, and this can be funny. I didn't like No Way Home. I'm sorry, I'm not a big fan. So I'll just leave that.
You're wrong, but
yeah, you're definitely wrong on that. But
it was better than I thought it was going to be. I didn't like
That's fair. That's fair. Nate, man, where can people find you? And I'll make sure, I'm not sure if we're following each other on X, formerly known as Twitter, but I will make sure I rectify that immediately. So where can people find your stuff at?
Well, you can find me on X/Twitter, whatever the heck you want to call it, at Nate_Manningham, where I tweet a lot about Star Wars, sports, all these other little things, and, just, having a good time over there.
Nice. Tyler, where can people support you at, my friend?
TyBrad5 on Twitter. I talk about Star Wars, other movies, and basketball.
College sports.
Pretty much, like, exclusively.
You talk about college sports.
I do. Like, Saturdays are for the boys of the OU. So, I mean, we're back. Actually, it's actually really fun. Just real quick. OU's playing UCF this weekend. I live in Orlando. So all my students are huge UCF fans. So it's been a really fun week just trash talking them. And we have a big bet going. If OU loses this weekend, I got to come face painted black and gold or whatever for UCF colors on Monday. So, which we don't need to lose that bet. I already lost one bet with them this year, so now I have to dress.
Why don't you make another one?
Well, it's you try to win because you get a little bit something back. Like now I have to dress up as George Washington on Halloween for school that day, so that's going to be great.
Pics. I want pics. God damn it! I want pictures.
I'll put some.
Excellent. All right. Right on, man. Right on. And please, you can follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Herman22 with 2 N's, aka P Thug. Please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. The Comic Binge. I almost said my Star Wars podcast. The Comic Binge. We just did a great episode about the phenomenal comic book Immortal Hulk. Go check out that video with BJ Kicks, aka Comics Are Dope YouTube channel. He joins me and we talk about a literal masterpiece called Immortal Hulk. If you're into horror or a big Halloween person, this is the comic to pick up right now and read. We just did a little mini Ahsoka review where we did a lot of comic recommendations. Go check that out. Lots of fun. Appreciate everyone who's already has. And everyone, I really appreciate it. And we will see you next week. And until then, may that force be